Imagine for a moment that your mind is a beautiful, serene garden that you have cultivated with immense care over the course of your entire life, planting seeds of peace, watering them with intention, and ensuring that the soil is rich with the nutrients of self-love and awareness. You have built high walls to keep out the wild animals of anxiety and the weeds of distraction, creating a sanctuary where the air is always sweet and the water in the central pond is crystal clear, reflecting the infinite sky above. But consider what happens when you leave the gate to this sacred garden wide open, allowing anyone with muddy boots, loud voices, and destructive habits to wander in and trample your delicate flowers, throwing their emotional trash into your pristine waters without a second thought. This is exactly what happens when we fail to protect our energy, permitting the negativity, chaos, and unresolved trauma of others to invade our inner sanctuary, until we are left feeling exhausted, depleted, and spiritually violated by interactions that we never consented to absorb. Tonight we are here to learn the art of closing the gate, not out of malice or coldness, but out of a profound necessity to preserve the sanctity of your own soul, understanding that you cannot serve water to a thirsty world if your own well has been poisoned by the toxic runoff of those around you who refuse to do their own healing work. We live in a modern world that is hyper-connected and relentlessly demanding, a world where the boundaries between ourselves and others are constantly being eroded by digital noise, social expectations, and the unspoken pressure to be constantly available, constantly empathetic, and constantly absorbing the emotional overflow of everyone we meet. You may often feel like a psychic sponge walking through your day, soaking up the stress of your commute, the frustration of your colleagues, the anger of a family member, and the general anxiety of the collective consciousness, until you are so saturated with other people's energy that you can no longer locate your own center. This state of energetic enmeshment is not a badge of honor, nor is it a sign of being a good person. It is a state of spiritual negligence that leads to burnout, resentment, and a deep, aching fatigue that sleep alone cannot cure, because it is a fatigue of the spirit, not just the body. The ancient wisdom of Buddhism offers us a radical alternative to this way of living, teaching us that true compassion does not mean drowning alongside those who are sinking, but rather standing firmly on the dry land of your own stability so that you can offer a lifeline without being pulled into the dangerous currents of their suffering. To begin this transformation, we must first understand the mechanism of how we lose our energy, which often happens not through a single catastrophic event, but through 1,000 tiny leaks that occur when we unconsciously agree to carry burdens that do not belong to us. Every time you engage in an argument that you know will go nowhere, every time you try to fix someone who is committed to being broken, every time you replay a rude comment in your head for hours after it was spoken, you are voluntarily handing over a piece of your life force to a situation that will not give anything back. This is what the Buddhists call leaking kai, and it leaves us spiritually anemic, unable to manifest our own dreams or maintain our own happiness, because all our fuel is being siphoned off to power the dramas and dysfunctions of the people around us. Tonight we will learn to plug these leaks by mastering the art of compassionate detachment, a spiritual stance that allows you to care for others and wish them well, without hooking your nervous system into their chaotic frequency, thereby remaining a lighthouse that stands stoically amidst the crashing waves, shining its light without ever becoming the storm itself. Let us settle into the practice now by grounding our physical bodies, for you cannot protect your energy if you are floating in the ether of your thoughts. You must be anchored deep in the bedrock of the present moment, rooted like a great ancient tree that has withstood centuries of wind and rain. Close your eyes and visualize a cord of red light extending from the base of your spine, traveling down through the mattress, down through the floorboards, down through the foundation of the building, and plunging deep into the dark, nurturing soil of the earth, going past the rocks and the water tables until it hooks into the molten iron core of the planet. Feel the gravity of the earth claiming you, pulling your heavy limbs down, signaling to your primal brain that you are safe, you are held, and you are supported by a power infinitely greater than your small, personal self. From this place of grounded strength, You can observe the swirling energies of the world without being uprooted by them, watching the clouds of negativity pass across the sky of your awareness, without mistaking yourself for the weather, knowing that the blue sky behind the clouds is your true, permanent nature, which can never be stained or damaged by the temporary storms of human interaction. There is a foundational story in the Buddhist tradition that perfectly illustrates the secret to handling toxic insults and directed anger without absorbing them, a story that shifts the paradigm from victim to observer in a single moment of realization. It is said that the Buddha was once teaching a large gathering when a man from a rival sect approached him consumed by jealousy and rage and began to scream the most vile insults at the enlightened one, calling him a fraud, a deceiver, and a fool who was leading people astray. The crowd watched in stunned silence, waiting for the Buddha to defend himself, to argue back, or to display some sign of offense. But the Buddha simply sat there in perfect stillness, his face radiating a calm and gentle compassion, appearing as if he were listening to the sound of a distant bird rather than a personal attack. When the man finally ran out of breath and venom, he stood panting, confused by the lack of reaction, and demanded, "Why do you not answer me? Are you deaf, or are you too cowardly to fight back against my words?" The Buddha looked at the man with eyes that held no judgment, only a deep penetrating clarity, and asked him a simple, unexpected question. "Tell me, my friend, if you buy a gift for someone and you bring it to them, but that person refuses to accept the gift, to whom does the gift belong?" The man was taken aback by the question, but answered, "Well, if they refuse to take it, the gift would still belong to me. I suppose I would have to keep it." The Buddha smiled and said, "Exactly so. You have come here today carrying a gift of insults, anger, and hatred. But I do not accept this gift. I refuse to take it from your hands. So tell me, who is left holding this anger now?" In that instant, the man was struck by the realization that his anger had not landed on the Buddha at all. It had remained entirely within himself, burning his own heart, poisoning his own blood, and disturbing his own peace, while the Buddha remained as cool and untouched as a lotus flower, floating on a muddy pond. This teaching of the refusal is the first and most powerful tool in your arsenal for energy protection, for it reminds us that the transmission of negativity is not automatic. It requires your consent, your participation, and your willingness to reach out and grab the burning coal that is being offered to you. We often believe that when someone insults us or projects their trauma onto us, the hurt enters us like a bullet, but the truth is that we open the door to that hurt by agreeing with it, by defending ourselves against it, or by believing that we need to process it. The next time you are faced with a toxic person who is trying to offload their emotional garbage onto you, visualize their words as a physical package that they are trying to hand you, a package that is leaking black sludge and smells of sulfur. You have the absolute right to keep your hands in your pockets, to look at the package and say silently, "That is yours, not mine. I leave it with you," and to walk away without carrying a single ounce of their burden. But how do we maintain this level of detachment when the toxic person is a family member, a boss, or someone we cannot easily remove from our lives, someone who knows exactly which buttons to push to trigger our oldest insecurities and deepest fears? This requires us to understand the concept of the pain body, a term used by spiritual teachers to describe the accumulated energy of past emotional pain that lives inside a person and periodically takes them over, using them as a host to feed on more drama and conflict. When a person is in the grip of their pain body, they are not conscious. They are possessed by a historical entity that wants to provoke you so that it can feed on your reaction, your anger, and your fear, creating a feedback loop of misery that sustains its existence. When you realize that the person screaming at you or manipulating you is not acting from their true self, but is currently being driven by a parasitic energy of past trauma, you can stop taking it personally and start viewing them with a clinical, detached compassion, much like a doctor viewing a patient who is thrashing about in a fever dream. You do not get angry at the patient for the fever, nor do you lie down in the bed next to them and try to catch the fever yourself. You administer the medicine of boundaries and keep yourself sterile and safe. Protecting your energy means recognizing that most people are not attacking you. They are fighting a war inside their own heads, and you just happen to walk onto the battlefield at the wrong moment. They are projecting their own self-hatred, their own feelings of inadequacy, and their own unresolved grief onto you because they cannot bear to look at it themselves. You are simply the screen upon which they are projecting their movie, and once you understand that you are the screen and not the movie, you can let their drama play out without ever believing that the fire in the film can burn you, or the water in the film can drown you. Let us deepen our shielding practice by visualizing a specific energetic boundary that you can erect every morning before you leave your house. A ritual that signals to your subconscious mind that you are contained and sovereign. Imagine a sphere of translucent, golden light surrounding your entire body, extending about 3 feet out in all directions above your head, below your feet, encircling your aura. This sphere is not a wall that shuts out the world, but a semi-permeable membrane, an intelligent filter that allows love, kindness, and inspiration to pass through freely, but acts as a mirror to negativity, criticism, and psychic attacks. As you breathe, visualize the outer shell of this sphere hardening into a diamond-like substance, unbreakable and radiant, reflecting any dark energy back to its source, not to harm the sender, but to return their energy to them for their own processing. Inside this bubble, you are in your own atmosphere, breathing your own air, thinking your own thoughts, and feeling your own feelings, completely independent of the emotional climate outside. If you walk into a room where everyone is stressed and angry, you can visualize their red, jagged energy hitting your golden shield and sliding off like rain on a window pane, leaving you dry and warm on the inside. You can observe their stress, you can offer helpful solutions, you can be a calming presence, but you do not have to lower your vibration to match theirs. You can stay high and lift them up, rather than letting them pull you down. This visualization is not just a fantasy. It is a way of programming your reticular activating system and your nervous system to recognize where you end and where the world begins, correcting the leaky boundaries that have allowed you to be drained for so long. Now, let us address the subtle and dangerous trap of the fixer archetype, which is often the primary reason why empathetic people attract toxic narcissists and energy vampires in the first place. You may have a deep-seated belief that your value lies in your ability to help, to heal, to listen, and to rescue people from their own mess, a belief that likely formed in childhood, when you learned that being good meant prioritizing the needs of others over your own. While this desire to help is noble, it becomes a liability when it lacks discernment, leading you to pour your precious energy into black holes, people who take and take but never change, never grow, and never reciprocate. The Buddhist teaching of *upaya*, or skillful means, reminds us that true compassion includes wisdom. It is not compassionate to enable someone's dysfunction, or to prevent them from facing the consequences of their actions, which are often the only teachers that can wake them up. By constantly stepping in to fix, to soothe, or to absorb the negativity of a toxic person, you are actually interfering with their karma and blocking their opportunity for growth, while simultaneously depleting your own reserves. You must learn to distinguish between supporting and carrying, understanding that you can walk beside someone on their journey, but you cannot walk the path for them, nor can you carry their backpack. Protecting your energy requires you to resign from the position of general manager of the universe, accepting that you cannot save everyone, you cannot fix everyone, and that some people as soul journey involves sitting in the mud until they themselves decide to stand up. This resignation is not an act of abandonment. It is an act of supreme respect for their sovereignty and an act of supreme love for yourself, freeing up the vast amounts of energy you were wasting on impossible projects so you can invest it in your own growth and joy. Consider the profound metaphor of the empty boat from the Taoist tradition, which helps us to radically depersonalize the conflicts and aggressions we encounter. Imagine you are rowing a small boat across a misty river, enjoying the silence, when suddenly you see another boat coming out of the fog. heading straight for you on a collision course. You shout, "Watch out, turn aside." But the boat keeps coming, faster and faster, until it crashes into you, knocking you off balance and filling you with a sudden, boiling rage at the incompetence and rudeness of the other boatman. You stand up, ready to scream insults at the driver, ready to demand an apology. But as you look into the other boat, you realize it is completely empty. It has simply slipped its knot at the dock and is drifting aimlessly with the current. In that split second, your anger evaporates completely, for there is no one to be angry at. You cannot blame the wood, the water, or the current, so you simply steer your boat around it and continue on your way, perhaps with a sigh of relief but without a grudge. The profound truth is that almost everyone who hurts you, insults you, or drains you is an empty boat. They are not steering their lives with conscious intention to harm you, but are being swept along by the violent currents of their conditioning, their trauma, their biology, and their unconscious patterns. They are asleep at the wheel, crashing into you not because you are a target, but because you happen to be in the path of their drift. When you view the toxic people in your life as empty boats, vessels driven by forces they do not control and often do not understand, you stop taking their collisions personally. You stop creating stories about how they disrespected you, and you simply maneuver around them with neutral agility. This shift in perspective allows you to practice strategic non-resistance, a state where you stop fighting reality and start navigating it with the fluidity of water, which flows around the rock rather than trying to smash through it. When a toxic person tries to provoke you, instead of meeting their force with force, which only creates a bigger explosion, you meet their force with space, stepping aside and letting their energy pass right through the empty space where your ego used to be. This is the essence of the martial art of Aikido, where the defender uses the attacker's own momentum to neutralize the threat, guiding the aggressive energy past them without ever absorbing the impact. In a verbal conflict, this looks like refusing to argue, refusing to defend your character to someone committed to misunderstanding you, and using phrases like "I hear that you are upset," or "that is an interesting perspective," which acknowledge the person without accepting their premise or their poison. As we go deeper into the architecture of your inner sanctuary, we must talk about the vital importance of silence as a cleansing agent for the accumulated psychic debris of the day. Just as we wash our bodies to remove the dirt of the physical world, we must bathe our minds in silence to wash away the sticky residue of other people's words and emotions. If you are constantly surrounded by noise, podcasts, TV, music, conversation, you never give your system the chance to process and release the energies you have picked up, so they impact and calcify within you, leading to anxiety and heaviness. You must carve out pockets of absolute silence in your day, specifically a period of energetic hygiene in the evening, where you disconnect from the collective mind of the internet and reconnect with the singular frequency of your own soul. Visualize a waterfall of white light cascading down from the heavens, pouring over your head and washing down through your body, flushing out the gray sludge of other people's stress, the black tar of their anger, and the sticky red clay of their demands. See this debris flowing out of the soles of your feet and into the earth, to be composted, leaving your internal channels clear, sparkling, and vibrant. This daily ritual of clearing is what prevents the buildup of emotional plaque that leads to hardening of the heart. It keeps you soft, open, and available to the beauty of life rather than becoming cynical and closed off as a defense mechanism. You are returning to your factory settings, to the original blueprint of your being, which is pure, light, and intrinsically peaceful. Now let us address the fear of missing out, or the fear of rejection, that often keeps us tethered to toxic groups or individuals. The primal fear that if we set boundaries, we will be exiled to the wilderness of loneliness. This fear is an evolutionary relic from a time when being kicked out of the tribe meant death. But in the modern world, protecting your energy often requires a period of solitude, which is not an exile but an incubation. When you step away from the drama, the gossip, and the low vibration activities of your old circle, you may indeed feel a temporary void, a silence where the noise used to be. Do not rush to fill this void with new distractions. Honor it as a sacred clearing where your new self can emerge. just as a caterpillar must dissolve completely inside the cocoon before it can be reconstituted as a butterfly. The people who fall away when you start respecting yourself are not losses. They are the scaffolding falling away because the building is now strong enough to stand on its own. Trust that by raising your vibration and protecting your light, you will naturally attract a new tribe. Be of people who are vibrating at that same frequency, people who respect boundaries, who take responsibility for their own emotions, and who want to share energy rather than steal it. This is the law of resonance. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. If you are a porous, leaky vessel, you attract parasites. If you are a contained, radiant vessel, you attract other radiant beings. Therefore, the most effective way to change the people around you is to change the energy within you, becoming so solid in your self-respect that toxic people are naturally repelled by your light, just as shadows vanish when the sun reaches its zenith. We must also recognize that sometimes the toxic person is a voice inside our own heads, the internalized critic that judges, shames, and belittles us, often repeating the words of a parent or authority figure from our past. Protecting your energy means shielding yourself from this internal enemy as vigilantly as you shield yourself from external ones. When that voice starts to whisper that you are not enough, that you should have done more, or that you are responsible for everyone's happiness, treat it just like the external toxic person. Refuse the gift. Say to the part of your mind, I hear you, but I do not agree with you. I am doing my best. I am worthy of rest. I am worthy of peace. You have the power to curate your internal environment just as you curate your home. You can choose which thoughts to frame and hang on the wall, and which thoughts to toss in the trash. Cultivating a gentle, encouraging internal dialogue is the ultimate form of energy protection, because it seals the cracks in your self-esteem where the external negativity usually hooks in. When you are full of your own validation, you do not need the validation of others. And when you do not need their validation, you cannot be controlled by their disapproval. You become free. Rest here for a moment in the knowledge of your own freedom, feeling the weight of the world lifting off your shoulders as you realize that you do not have to carry it. You are not the atlas of the emotional world. You are a traveler passing through, here to learn, to love, and to experience, but not to hoard the suffering of others. Let the image of the lotus flower occupy your mind as I completely now rooting deep in the mud of the world, acknowledging the darkness, acknowledging the pain, but pushing upward through the water, guided by an instinct for the light, until it breaks the surface and opens its petals to the sun. The lotus does not judge the mud. It uses the mud as fuel. It transforms the waste of the pond into the beauty of the flower. You have that same alchemical power within you. You can take the negativity that is thrown at you and use it as manure for your own growth, using the resistance of others to strengthen your own patience, using their anger to test your equanimity, using their darkness to define your light. Nothing is wasted in the economy of the spirit. Even the most difficult people are your teachers, unwittingly helping you to polish the mirror of your soul until it is flawless. But remember, you attend the class, you learn the lesson, and then you leave the classroom. You do not live in the school. You return to your sanctuary. This sanity allows you to recognize the energetic dynamics at play in every interaction, specifically the existence of what spiritual traditions often call energy vampires, or in Buddhist cosmology, the hungry ghosts or asterisk pretas asterisk. These are beings who, due to their own deep inner void and lack of connection to the source of light within themselves, wander the earth in a state of perpetual starvation, seeking to feed on the emotional life force of others to temporarily fill their bottomless pit of need. You have undoubtedly met them. They are the people who constantly crave attention, who manufacture crises to garner sympathy, who provoke arguments to feel a rush of adrenaline, or who demand endless validation that no amount of praise can ever satisfy. When you understand that their behavior is a form of spiritual hunger, you stop judging them as evil and start seeing them as desperate. But more importantly, you realize that you cannot feed them from your own plate without starving yourself. The tragedy of the hungry ghost is that they have a small mouth and a giant stomach. No matter how much love, time, or energy you pour into them, it is never enough and they will drain you dry and still be hungry. Therefore, the only compassionate response is to stop enabling their addiction to your energy kindly, but firmly cutting off the supply so that they are forced to look inward for their own sustenance, which is the only place they will ever truly find it. To implement this practically, we can utilize a modern psychological technique that aligns perfectly with the Zen practice of being like a stone, often called the gray rock method. When a toxic person tries to provoke you, manipulate you, or feed off your emotional reaction, you make yourself as uninteresting, unresponsive, and boring as a gray rock lying on the ground. You do not argue, you do not defend, you do not explain, and you do not offer any emotional hooks for them to grab onto. You simply offer neutral, factual, and minimal responses like "I see," "okay," or "that is your opinion." By removing the drama and the emotional charge from the interaction, you become an unappealing food source for the energy vampire, who craves the high-calorie sustenance of your anger or your tears. Eventually, realizing that they can no longer extract a reaction from you, they will lose interest and move on to a target that is more easily triggered, leaving you in peace. This is not passive-aggressive silence. It is a strategic conservation of your vitality, a refusal to perform in a circus that you did not buy a ticket for. One of the greatest traps we fall into with difficult people is the compulsion to over-explain ourselves, believing that if we can just find the right combination of words, if we can just articulate our point of view clearly enough, they will finally understand us, validate us, and change their behavior. This is the trap of jade. Justify, argue, defend, explain. We jade because we are seeking permission to be who we are, seeking their approval of our boundaries. But the harsh truth is that toxic people are often committed to not understanding you, because understanding you would require them to change, and change is terrifying to the ego. When you stop jading, you reclaim your power because you are no longer asking for their stamp of approval on your reality. You are stating your reality as a fact that requires no signature. You say, "No, I cannot come," instead of offering a 10-minute excuse about why you are busy. The no is the boundary. The explanation is the leak where your power escapes. Silence is often the loudest answer you can give, and in that silence, you stand tall in your own truth, unshakable and sovereign. Let us also examine the role of your own ego in these entanglements. For it takes to play a game of tug-of-war, and if you drop the rope, the war is over immediately. Often, we stay engaged in toxic conflicts because a part of us wants to be right, wants to win, wants to prove to the other person that they are wrong and we are the virtuous ones. This need to be right is the hook that catches us. It is the Velcro that the toxic person sticks to. The Buddha taught that the desire for victory breeds hatred, for the defeated live in pain, but the peaceful live happily, giving up both victory and defeat. When you can let go of the need to have the last word, when you can let go of the need to correct their false narrative about you, you become invisible to their attacks. Let them think what they want. Their thoughts are just electrical impulses in their own brain, having no reality unless you give it to them. You know who you are. The truth knows who you are. That is enough. This level of humility is not weakness. It is the ultimate strength. The strength of water that cannot be grasped or cut, slipping through the fingers of anyone who tries to hold it too tight. As we move deeper into the night, visualize yourself as the sun. The sun shines on everything equally. It shines on the rose and the garbage, the saint and the sinner, but it does not come down to earth to get involved in the affairs of the flowers or the trash. It stays high in the sky, radiating its nature, which is light and warmth, without discrimination and without attachment. This is compassionate detachment. You can love people from a distance. You can wish them well from your orbit without crashing into their world. You can send loving kindness to a difficult family member while maintaining 1,000 miles of physical or emotional distance, understanding that your proximity is not a requirement for your love. In fact, sometimes the most loving thing you can do is to step away, preventing the accumulation of mutual bad karma that comes from constant fighting. By staying in your own orbit, you preserve your light, ensuring that you continue to burn bright for those who are actually capable of receiving and reciprocating your warmth. Feel the tension draining out of your solar plexus now, the center of your personal power, which often gets knotted up when we feel threatened or dominated by others. Visualize a brilliant yellow sun spinning in your upper abdomen, burning away the cords of attachment, burning away the fear of confrontation, burning away the need for approval. With every breath, this internal sun grows brighter and hotter, cauterizing any energetic wounds you may have sustained today, sealing your aura so that you are completely self-contained. You are realizing that you are not a half person looking for another half to complete you, nor are you a broken person looking for a savior. You are a complete universe unto yourself, fully equipped with every resource you need to be happy, peaceful, and whole. The behavior of others is merely the scenery through which you travel. It is not the road, and it is certainly not the destination. Now, let us bring this healing awareness into the deepest layers of your subconscious mind, where the old programs of people-pleasing and fear of conflict are stored. Imagine walking down a long, spiral staircase made of ancient stone, descending deep into the sanctuary of your inner being. With each step, you are going deeper into relaxation, deeper into safety, and further away from the noise of the surface world. 10. Stepping down, leaving the voices of others behind. 9. Feeling the cool, protective air of the sanctuary. 8. Releasing the need to explain yourself to anyone. 7. Your body is heavy, so heavy, and relaxed. 6. Your mind is becoming a still pool of water. 5. You are safe, you are hidden, you are secure. 4. Nothing can touch you here. 3. Deep, restorative peace is flowing through your veins. 2. You are the gatekeeper of your own soul. 1. You have arrived at the center. In this center, there is a room filled with mirrors, but these are not ordinary mirrors. They are mirrors of the soul. When you look into them, you do not see your physical face. You see your energy, your essence. Look at yourself. See how bright you are. See how vast you are. The toxic words that were thrown at you today, look for them. They are not there. They did not stick. They were illusions. Only your light is real. Only your love is real. Resting in this truth, you can finally lay down the heavy armor you have been wearing. You don't need to fight anymore because there is nothing to fight. The shadows cannot hurt the light. They can only flee from it. You are the light. Let the feeling of safety wrap around you like a weighted blanket, pressing you gently into the mattress. Your legs are asleep, completely numb and heavy. Your arms are asleep, resting by your sides like sleeping lions. Your torso is rising and falling with the gentle rhythm of the ocean tides. Your head is filled with a soft, white mist that obscures all thoughts, all plans, all memories. You are drifting in the void, the shunyata of Buddhism, the fertile emptiness from which all things are born. In this void, there are no toxic people. There are no demands. There is no time. There is only the eternal now, pulsing with a quiet, benevolent rhythm. Allow yourself to float in this void, untethered and free. Imagine that any remaining cords connecting you to the drama of the day are being gently dissolved by a cosmic solvent, melting away like sugar in hot water. You are reclaiming your energy, calling it back from every person, every place, and every situation where you left it scattered. Visualize little lights returning to you from all directions, flying back into your heart center, reintegrating into your field. You are becoming whole again. You are becoming full again. You are recharging your battery to 100% as you drift deeper into this state of release. Visualize the cords of attachment that have bound you to the expectations of others dissolving into golden dust. You are reclaiming the energy you scattered throughout the day, calling it back from the arguments, back from the worries, and back from the people who do not know how to hold your light. Visualize this energy returning to you like fireflies in the night, filling your chest, your solar plexus, and your mind with a renewed sense of vitality and wholeness. You are remembering that you are not a fragment of someone else's story, nor are you a supporting character in their drama. You are the protagonist of your own journey, fully equipped with the resilience and wisdom to navigate any storm. This reclamation is not an act of withdrawal, but an act of gathering your resources so that you can exist in the world with greater presence and less depletion. In this space of gathered energy, we must also confront the subtle addiction to being needed, which often masquerades as love, but is, in reality, a form of control and a defense against our own emptiness. We often tolerate toxic behavior because we believe that if we can fix the other person, we will finally be safe, or we will finally be worthy of the love we crave. But the Buddhist teachings remind us that we cannot pour from an empty cup, and we certainly cannot quench the thirst of a person who has a hole in the bottom of their glass. When you stop trying to be the savior, you force the other person to face their own reflection. And while they may react with anger or withdrawal initially, you have given them the greatest gift possible, the dignity of their own karma. You are stepping out of the way of their lessons and, simultaneously, stepping back onto your own path, liberating both of them and yourself from a cycle of codependent suffering that serves no one. Let us now turn our attention to the physical sensation of boundaries. For a boundary is not just a mental concept. It is a somatic reality that lives in the nervous system. When your boundaries are weak, you feel a constant low-level anxiety, a tightness in the gut, and a hypervigilance that scans the room for other people's moods, trying to anticipate danger before it strikes. This is the body living in a chronic state of fawn response, trying to appease the predator to avoid attack. Tonight we are reprogramming the nervous system to switch from fawn to sovereign, teaching the body that it is safe to occupy its own space, safe to have a skin that separates me from you, and safe to say no without the fear of annihilation. Visualize your skin not as a barrier of separation, but as a golden vessel that contains your essence, a sacred container that does not leak and cannot be penetrated by anything, that does not vibrate at the frequency of love and respect. As the body begins to trust this new template of safety, you may notice resistance arising in the form of guilt, the whispering voice that says, "Who are you to put yourself first? Isn't that selfish?" This guilt is merely the echo of old conditioning, a program installed by a society that benefits from your self-sacrifice. We must look at this guilt with the eyes of wisdom and recognize it as a manipulation tool, a heavy stone placed in your pocket by others to keep you weighed down and compliant. Imagine taking this stone of guilt out of your pocket, looking at it, and realizing it is not yours. It belongs to the people who benefit from your lack of boundaries. With a gentle exhale, drop the stone into the deep ocean of the subconscious, watching it sink down into the darkness until it hits the ocean floor, gone forever. You are lighter now. You are free to move, free to breathe, and free to exist without apology. This freedom allows us to explore the concept of the witness, or Sakshi Gnyajic, in Buddhist philosophy, which is the part of you that observes the drama without being the drama. When you are identified with your thoughts and emotions, you are like a leaf in a hurricane, tossed around by every wind of circumstance. But when you step back into the seat of the witness, you become the sky in which the hurricane is happening, vast, untouched, and permanently at peace. The witness does not judge the toxic person. It simply sees them clearly. It does not judge your own reaction. It simply notes it. There is anger rising. There is a feeling of betrayal. By naming the experience without merging with it, you create a microscopic gap between the trigger and the response, and in that gap lies your freedom. It is in that gap that you can choose to respond with silence instead of shouting, with walking away instead of engaging, with peace instead of war. As we cultivate the power of the witness, we begin to see that many of the emergencies that other people try to pull us into are actually illusions, manufactured urgencies designed to hook our attention and harvest our energy. The narcissist, the energy vampire, and the drama addict operate on the principle of urgency. They need you to react now, to feel now, to fix now, because if you pause to think, you will see through their game. The witness is the master of the pause. It slows down time. It breathes. It asks, is this truly my emergency, or is it a trap? Tonight, as you lie here in the safety of your bed, practice the art of slowing down the internal film. See the events of the day in slow motion. See the moment someone tried to provoke you. Freeze the frame. Look at it. See the hook they threw. See that you have the choice not to bite. In the slow motion review, you are rewriting the neural pathways of your brain, training yourself to remain the observer in the heat of the moment, ensuring that the next time the hook is thrown, you will simply watch it fly past you. Deepening this state of detached observation, we move into the realm of emotional alchemy, the practice of transforming the heavy lead of negativity into the gold of wisdom. Every difficult person you encounter is, in a strange and paradoxical way, a teacher who has been sent to show you exactly where your boundaries are weak and where your self-love is lacking. If someone can make you feel small, it is because there is a part of you that still believes you are small. If someone can make you feel guilty, it is because there is a reservoir of guilt already waiting to be activated. Instead of blaming the trigger, we can thank the teacher for revealing the wound so that we can finally heal it. This does not mean we keep the toxic person in our lives. It means we use the interaction as data for our own evolution. We take the lesson and leave the teacher. We extract the wisdom and discard the pain. In this alchemical process, silence becomes our most potent catalyst. We are so accustomed to filling every void with words, explanations, and defenses. But silence is where the truth regenerates. When you are silent in the face of aggression, you are not being passive. You are holding a mirror up to the aggressor. Your silence forces them to hear the echo of their own harsh words. It creates a vacuum that they desperately want you to fill with your reaction. And by refusing to fill it, you force them to sit in their own discomfort. This is the thunderous silence of the Buddha. A silence so loud and so full of presence that it disarms the ego and shatters the illusion of conflict. Tonight, let us practice entering the thunderous silence, peeling away the layers of mental chatter until we reach the core of stillness that resides in the center of the heart. In the center, we find the ultimate refuge, a fortress of solitude that has never been breached by the noise of the world, a place where the air is thick with the fragrance of ancient peace, and the light does not come from a sun or a lamp, but radiates from the very walls of your own being. It is here that we begin to dismantle the specific archetypes of toxicity that plague our daily life, starting with the pervasive shadow of the critic, the person who seeks to elevate themselves by standing on your neck pointing out your flaws with surgical precision while remaining conveniently blind to their own. When you encounter the critic, you must understand that their words are not an objective assessment of your reality, but a confession of their own insecurity. They are projecting their internal landscape onto you because the weight of their own self-judgment is too heavy to bear alone. By refusing to accept their criticism as truth, you are essentially holding up a mirror, forcing them to look at the very things they are trying to hide. And while this may cause them to lash out, you remain safe in the knowledge that their words are merely descriptions of their own demons, not yours. You do not need to defend yourself against a hallucination. You simply need to witness it with a steady gaze and a heart that knows its own worth, understanding that a diamond does not stop being a diamond just because a blind man claims it is a stone. As we navigate further into the complexities of human interaction, we inevitably encounter the victim, the archetype that drains us not through aggression, but through a suffocating neediness that disguises itself as helplessness. This person is perpetually in crisis, perpetually wronged by the universe, and perpetually seeking a savior to rescue them from the consequences of their own choices. Your empathy, which is your greatest gift, becomes your greatest vulnerability here, as you feel a compulsion to lift them up, to solve their problems, and to carry their emotional load. However, the Buddhist concept of right action teaches us that true compassion is not about doing for others what they can and should do for themselves. It is about empowering them to find their own strength, even if that means allowing them to struggle. When you repeatedly rescue the victim, you validate their belief that they are powerless. effectively crippling their spiritual growth and chaining yourself to a sinking ship. To protect your energy, you must learn the art of supportive detachment, offering a listening ear and a kind word, but firmly refusing to take ownership of their chaos, trusting that the universe has given them the exact challenges they need to evolve, just as it has given you yours. Then there is the controller, the individual who seeks to manage every aspect of your reality, your time, your opinions, your choices, because your autonomy feels like a threat to their fragile sense of order. The controller operates from a place of deep fear, terrified that if they loosen their grip for even a second, their world will spin into chaos. When you interact with a controller, the instinct is often to rebel or to submit, but both reactions trap you in their game. Rebellion acknowledges their power, and submission surrenders yours. The spiritual antidote is fluid sovereignty, a state of being like water that cannot be grasped. You simply continue to live your life according to your own internal compass, politely acknowledging their demands but quietly proceeding with your own truth. You do not ask for permission to be yourself, you simply are yourself, with such unwavering consistency that the controller eventually realizes they are trying to hold onto a cloud. This is the ultimate assertion of power, not power asterisk over asterisk another, but power asterisk over asterisk oneself. A calm and absolute refusal to be colonized by another person's fear. At this juncture of deep reflection, I invite you to consider a small but profound action that anchors this wisdom into your life. If you have felt the weight of these burdens lifting, if you have found a piece of your own soul in these words, I ask you to join our community of seekers by subscribing to this channel. This is not a request for a metric. It is an invitation to a commitment, a way of telling the universe that you are prioritizing your peace, that you are choosing wisdom over drama, and that you wish to surround yourself with energies that uplift rather than deplete. By aligning yourself with a sanctuary, you are building a digital asterisk saying asterisk, a community of like-minded souls, walking the path of liberation together, ensuring that you always have a place to return to when the world tries to pull you off center. You are not alone in this journey. There are thousands of us here, breathing with you, learning with you, and holding the light for you. Returning to our internal cultivation, we must address the subtle poison of guilt, which is often the weapon of choice for toxic people who know they cannot control you with force. So they try to control you with your own conscience. They will whisper that you are selfish for setting boundaries, that you are cold for not engaging in their drama, or that you have changed since you started valuing your own peace. When this happens, you must recognize that this guilt is a false signal. It is not the voice of your higher self, but the voice of your conditioning. In the Buddhist tradition, the intention behind an action is the primary determinant of its karmic weight. If your intention in setting a boundary is to preserve your sanity and ability to love, then that action is wholesome. Regardless of how the other person reacts, you are not responsible for their disappointment. You are responsible for your integrity. Imagine guilt as a heavy, gray cloak that has been placed upon your shoulders. Visualize yourself shrugging it off, letting it fall to the floor, and stepping forward into the light, lighter and freer than you have been in years. Now, let us practice the advanced spiritual technique of metta, or loving kindness, not as a soft, sentimental feeling, but as a high-frequency shield that renders you invisible to low-frequency attacks. When you hold someone in a field of metta, wishing them safety, happiness, and peace, you are vibrating at a level that is incompatible with conflict. You are essentially tuning your radio to a station that their anger cannot reach. Visualize the person who troubles you standing at a distance, and silently repeat, "May you be happy, may you be peaceful, may you be free from suffering." You are not doing this for them. You are doing it to clear the static from your own field. By generating this high-frequency energy, you create a buffer zone where their toxicity cannot land. It simply dissolves upon contact with your benevolence. This is the ultimate martial art of the spirit, defeating the enemy by removing the animosity within yourself, leaving them with no target to hit. As we deepen the relaxation, imagine your body becoming transparent, turning into a vessel of pure crystal through which light can pass unimpeded. The heavy, dense emotions of the day, the frustration, the resentment, the fatigue are being transmuted by this crystalline structure, turning into clear, flowing water. You are realizing that you are not your emotions. You are the space in which emotions occur. The sky is not the cloud, and the mirror is not the reflection. This disidentification is the key to freedom. When you know you are the witness, you can watch a storm of rage pass through a room without getting wet. You can watch a tsunami of drama crash against the shore without being swept away. You are the high ground. You are the mountain. You are the eternal observer who has seen 1,000 storms come and go, and knows that the sun always returns. In this state of crystalline clarity, we can finally understand the concept of karma not as a punishment, but as a natural law of physics. For every action, there is a reaction. The toxic people in your life are planting seeds of suffering with every unkind word, a manipulative act, and inevitably, they will harvest the bitter fruit of those seeds. You do not need to punish them. You do not need to seek revenge. And you certainly do not need to teach them a lesson. The universe is the ultimate teacher, and its curriculum is flawless. By trying to intervene or retaliate, you only entangle yourself in their karmic web, delaying their lesson and dirtying your own hands. Step back and let the law of cause and effect take its course. Your only job is to keep your own garden clean, to plant seeds of kindness, truth, and peace, knowing that your harvest will be sweet and abundant, regardless of what is growing in your neighbor's yard. As the night wraps its velvet arms around you, allow your breath to become the rhythm of the universe itself, slow, steady, and infinite. With every inhale, you are drawing in the silence of the stars, the stability of the mountains, and the depth of the oceans. With every exhale, you are releasing the smallness of the ego, the tightness of defense, and the heaviness of the past. You are expanding beyond the boundaries of your physical body, merging with the energy of the room, the house, the city, and the planet. In this expanded state, the petty conflicts of human life seem incredibly small. Like ants fighting over a crumb, you are realizing your cosmic nature, your connection to a source of power that is inexhaustible and invincible. From this perspective, you can see that the toxic people were merely actors on a stage playing their roles to help you discover your own strength. And now that the curtain has fallen, you can applaud their performance and go home. Visualize a golden lotus flower floating in the center of your chest, its petals slowly opening to reveal a radiant jewel in the center. This jewel is your bodhicitta, your awakened heart, which possesses the alchemical power to transform poison into medicine. When negativity comes your way, you do not need to block it. You can simply breathe it into this jewel, where it is instantly purified and released back into the world as love. You are a transformer of energy. You are a lighthouse that does not just shine, but actively clears the fog. Feel this power humming within you, a quiet, steady vibration that signals to every cell in your body that you are safe, you are sovereign, and you are master of your own domain. Now, bring your attention to the soles of your feet and imagine that they are resting on warm, sun-baked earth. Feel the stability of the ground beneath you, the ancient support of the mother planet who has held you every second of your life. This connection is your birthright. No matter what happens in the human world, the earth is always there. Solid and accepting, draw the stability up into your legs, letting your muscles hang heavy and loose on the bone. Draw it up into your hips, releasing the stored trauma of flight or fight. Draw it up into your spine, aligning your vertebrae like a string of pearls. Draw it up into your skull, quieting the restless mind. You are becoming a monument of peace, a statue of serenity carved from the bedrock of eternity. In the silence that follows, listen to the spaces between my words. It is in these gaps that the real teaching lies. The words are merely fingers pointing at the moon. The silence is the moon itself. Rest in that silence. Bathe in it. Let it wash over you like a gentle rain, cleansing the dust of the world from your aura. You are returning to innocence. You are returning to the state of the uncarved block described in Taoism's simple, potential, and real. Before the names, before the roles, before the hurts, there was you, pure, unadulterated you. Tonight, We sleep in that purity. We sleep in that truth. As you drift closer to the threshold of dreams, know that you have done the work. You have closed the gate. You have repaired the walls. You have cleaned the pond. Your garden is secure. You can rest now, knowing that your inner sanctuary is protected by the highest wisdom and the strongest love. Tomorrow, you will walk into the world not as a sponge, but as a sun radiating, not absorbing, influencing, not reacting. But for now, there is nothing to do. There is no one to be. There is only the breath. There is only the dark. There is only the peace that passes all understanding. Feel the final layers of resistance melting away, dissolving into the ether. The need to be right gone. The need to be liked gone. The need to be understood gone. All that remains is the simple joy of existing. You are enough. You have always been enough. The people who could not see your worth were looking with their eyes closed. You do not need to pry their eyes open. You just need to keep shining. Sleep now, knowing that you are held in the arms of a benevolent universe that sees you, knows you, and loves you exactly as you are. The journey is complete for today. The circle is closed. You are home.